Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Well, as I think we hopefully all are, I'm adjusting to the new normal. Hopefully everyone is doing okay in our social distancing world. Maybe taking in some Tiger King on Netflix. Seems to be the rage these days.
I've not seen any of that, have you?
I haven't seen any of it myself, but I've seen plenty of memes, plenty of Facebook posts. I've had recommendations from law school professors, so it's really running the gamut of audiences, it would seem. Perfect storm, I think, for Netflix of just this time where everyone is indoors and, you know, sometimes not by choice, but out of necessity, and along comes this crazy-ass documentary about some crazy-ass people. I don't know. I'm a little resistant to watch it, to be honest. I don't know that I'd love it, but people say it's good, so I don't know.
They eat it up. That's it.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I am healthy, knock on wood, so far. I think I'm classified as essential, so I've been going to work and doing things like that, although their work is like at a dead crawl, so I don't know if it's worth being open.
People have finally decided to stop buying cars.
Yes, I think the next step is going to be, I think DeSantis, as of yesterday, I think
yesterday he officially put out the executive order.
Right, so now the shit's shutting down, so... yes, I'm classified as essential. Yes, I'm still going to work as of now, but that might change. So we'll see what happens.
We shall certainly see. Glad you're staying safe in the interim.
Yeah,
surely taking some precautions to keep yourself insulated as much as possible. Anyway,
that's it.
So yeah, we are not going to spend an hour talking about COVID-19, the coronavirus, this episode. Hopefully we didn't lose too many listeners with our talk on our last episode. But facts are facts. You can interpret them as you will, but they are what they are. And we just wanted to put some facts out into the world so that people could do with them what they would. So we are trying to establish a new normal for ourselves. It's going to be a lot of TV for the most part. And this episode is no exception. We are talking the Netflix series Castlevania, something that we have talked about on episodes past in terms of the first and second seasons. I think it's been... When did that first season come out? Was that 2017 maybe? It's been
a couple years,
I think, since the first season debuted, which the first season was like 4 episodes, you know what I mean? So it was like...
Oh, it was total letdown.
Barely
not
season.
Total letdown, but it was... we'll talk about it.
I think we have talked about the series in general, so it's probably, again, no secret that we enjoyed the series at least through the first 2 seasons. However, we are going to be talking about not only the first 2 seasons on this episode, but the most recent 3rd season, which debuted just a little under a month ago on Netflix. And I don't think that we've really heard any impressions from either Andrew or myself until this episode. So we'll have some fresh content for the listeners in terms of what Castlevania is all about. So yeah, and in the interest of establishing this new normal, I think it's only appropriate that we go back to having some fun facts. We gave you we gave you the cold hard facts last week. Give us the fun facts on this episode. Do you have anything? For the listeners?
I do. Fun facts about Castlevania. I got a couple of them.
All right, perfect. Multiple facts to get us
facts
back on track.
The first fun fact is Castlevania as a video game, because it is based off a video game, is the
many video games.
Most remade video game of all time.
Are we talking about the first one in the series, or how exactly we're interpreting that?
Let's see. This is according to Uproxx, apparently. So let's see here. The story of Sypha Belmont's first assault on Dracula's castle has been retold numerous times. NES Castlevania was someone... Let's see.
Well, I think just going off the cuff, from what I recall, the first Castlevania for the NES and Castlevania 4, I think Simon's Quest, are basically the same storyline. So
That's
I'm
right.
assuming they're considering that one of those.
5 games, all unique but telling the same story and having the same basic level layout.
So what does it say, the other 3?
Yeah, so you have You have, let's see, the NES Castlevania was followed shortly by Vampire Killer. It's a little bit more Metroid-like on the Japanese MSX computers. And then there was an arcade version of Castlevania called Haunted Castle. And then you have Castlevania 4 for the NES. Or SNES, I'm sorry, Super Nintendo. Which was a straight-up remake of the NES game. And then Castlevania Chronicles for the PlayStation.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
So, well, that's cool. Are you considering that a series of facts, or was that one self-contained fact?
That was one self-contained fact.
Oh, okay. Well, very cool. What else you got?
The other fun fact I have, let's see. All the credits, so old school Japanese video games. The creators of these games, they couldn't. They went by they went by, what's the word I'm looking for?
Pseudonyms?
Pseudonyms, yes. And so we actually there's a best guess of who was the main creator of Castlevania, but nobody's quite sure who made the game. A lot of times you could draw inferences from the pseudonyms. But in this particular one, the credits were so out there, according to Uprock's article here, that they couldn't pin it down. They think that Hitoshi Akamatsu was the original creator, but it's not confirmed, apparently, according to this article. Couple of fun facts about the show. Let's see here. What do we got? The first fun fact is the script was in production for a decade. This is according to Screen Rant. Which I think that was super interesting. Apparently, let's see here. Warren Ellis had a blog in 2007, and he had started working on it, I guess, according to this article from Screen Rant.
Okay.
The other fun fact is that the original cover art, I don't know if you've seen the cover art for the season 1. I think this is going to be a season 1 thing, where you have Belmont there holding the whip, and Dracula's up in the top left corner, and his castle's kind of like in the middle of the picture, and then you have the blood moon.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm thinking I can see it in my head. Probably
okay,
not exactly.
That was
accurate,
a straight up.
But...
It was a straight up. It was a reimagining of the original cover art for the game, which is pretty cool.
Okay, I'm taking a look at it now. Cool. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, fun facts.
I have kind of a just the way that Google happened to lay out my image searches. I basically have the Netflix version with the original kind of box art right below it, as it turned out. So yeah, I can see the direct comparison. That's really cool.
Yeah. So
nice.
That's what I got for fun facts.
A multitude of Castlevania related facts for the listeners.
There's a whole swarm of facts, though. Castlevania goes way back.
So many fucking games.
Yeah. Goes way back. And it draws on Dracula, which is like, I mean, it's based off of a story. I mean, it's just old shit. There's a lot of meat on the bone of Dracula, so to speak.
For sure. I think this is kind of jumping off of what one of the facts you stated was, but it's funny that there's 5 iterations of Castlevania 1, and this series doesn't cover that story.
Right.
I just find that kind of interesting. This is, I think, adapted from mostly the third video game with elements and characters and rogues from other games, I think, kind of integrated throughout. So I think it's a bit of an adaptation with a bit of originality kind of spiced in, but we'll talk about it all in due time. We have news to talk about, and I think we'll start on a familiar note by talking about some film delays as a result of the coronavirus closing down theaters, literally, striking productions down, etc. So pretty much everything that we mentioned on our last episode still true. There's been mostly little in terms of there's been very little in terms of, this film that was announced to be delayed now has this new release date. The only one I think that has a new release date that was previously delayed was A Quiet Place Part 2. They just announced that they've moved it to September. So bumped from March, should have been out a couple weeks ago at this point, to September 4th of this year. So I suppose the hope is that theaters are at least back up and running, within a few months' time, which I think we all hope that is in fact going to be the case, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. Outside of that, there's been a few other movies that we didn't talk about on the last episode because they hadn't been delayed as of yet, but they have now been equally affected. Wonder Woman 1984 has been bumped back a few months to August 14th of this year. I think its original date was set for June, if I'm not mistaken. Top Gun Maverick also hit. The cruise missile won't be landing in cinemas until December of this year, so that's basically a half-year delay on that one. I think that was a July release date, if I recall correctly. It's a December 23rd date, so we'll hopefully be having the cruise missile for Christmas. It's our Christmas present.
Christmas, right.
Sony has delayed 3 movies, 2 of which I believe were expected to debut in 2020. I'm not sure about the third. If it was originally set for a 2020 release date, there was absolutely no chance it was going to make its release date anyway. However, Ghostbusters Afterlife was set to debut this summer, has been pushed all the way to March of 2021.
Jeez.
So that's a 7-8 month delay, I think, somewhere around there. And old Jared Leto and Morbius not arriving in cinemas until March 19th of 2021, just a couple weeks later. That one, I believe, was set for maybe October, something like that this year, later this year, maybe September, something like that. And last but not least, Uncharted, which we said that production had been shut down on it. They've officially now moved the release date to August 8th of 2021. Jeez. Like I said, I'm not sure if that was set for a 2020 release date. Like, it hasn't even started filming, so there's no way in hell it was ever going to make that. I'm assuming it was an early 2021 date, maybe one of those March dates.
I gotcha.
Since one of the other movies took one of those spots, maybe they bumped it back to August. However, I'm still not confident that movie's going to be made. Just my personal hot take. Did we talk about Mark Wahlberg? We did, being cast as Sully in it, right? So wild.
Yeah.
Anyway,
then
just crazy.
It's almost like the New Mutants.
Yeah. Well, we did talk about that one on last episode. No word on when the New Mutants will come along. One interesting thing is, I think there's been one summer blockbuster that has been quote unquote the last man standing, and that's Tenet, which has held firm to its date so far, which I think it's set for either June or July. I'm thinking that Chris Nolan doesn't want to move the movie, and that's probably why it hasn't been moved as of yet. I think, it's hard to project things, but I think even if cinemas are open in, June or July, whenever it does come out, I suppose there's still the lingering concern of, is that where we should be going anyway? I guess the flip side to that is, hey, this is the only fucking movie out in cinemas. Let's all go see it.
It's true.
But those are two conflicting concerns, I guess, conflicting ideologies, I would imagine. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Let's just say I don't think it's going to come out on streaming, because I don't think Christopher Nolan is not.
No, he's a
new
big
fucking
screen
movie
guy.
on his phone.
Right.
Yeah, that's not happening, and we want to see it in IMAX. Selfishly speaking,
for sure.
So. And outside of the movie world, the fucking Olympics, man, got pushed to 2021.
Has the Olympics ever been canceled? Ever?
I'm sure that there have been things in the past that have caused delays or cancellations of some sort, but I don't know if anything like this has ever happened. I don't claim to be all that well versed in the history of the Olympics, so I'm certainly open to corrections on that front. But it does feel unprecedented. But I could be wrong. I don't know. At least in my lifetime, I don't think anything like that's happened. So
definitely
in
not.
my lifetime, nothing like this has really happened in terms of impact to the United States. Obviously, the SARS epidemic was a thing, but I feel like its impact on the U.S. was.
H1N1 was a thing. I mean, we've had,
but nothing's been like this. You know what I mean? This has been pretty novel. For one reason or another, play the blame game all day. It's pretty easy to point a finger somewhere, but what are you gonna do?
China.
Well, it's not where I'd point it, at least in terms of the United States' response to it. But certainly it did start somewhere, I suppose. So there is a certain figure pointing the finger elsewhere. That's true. Moving on.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about some news. We're gonna talk a lot of this stuff broke weeks ago, so we're playing catch up right now. We were going to talk about it before things kind of spiraled out of control, which was out of our hands. But we're going back to the new normal, and there's a few things. There's probably some things that we won't get a chance to talk about. That again, they're just a lot going on. But there's a few things I think that do stand out from the bunch that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet, and I think they're going to hopefully be worth talking about. So that's where we are now. So I turn it over to you for the first thing that you want to talk about.
The fucking Batmobile, dude.
The fucking Batmobile, which a thing is, we've seen the Batmobile for like a month now, but you're fucking kidding yourself if we're not going to talk about the Batmobile on this podcast. March 4th is when we found out about what the Batmobile looks like from the Batman, from Matt Reeves' The Batman. But
yeah, so this release, there was a series of like pictures that were released with this, right?
I think he put out 3 pictures on his Twitter.
Yeah,
the director of the movie.
So, the Batman could have gone a couple different ways. Because, I haven't seen, besides I saw the Lighthouse, which was awesome. But aside from that, I hadn't seen Robert Pattinson in a lot of different things. So I was, could have gone either way. But they released these pictures. Oh, no, before that, there was the clip of the Batmobile crashing, or the Bat bike.
Right, yeah, I guess we had some set pictures of the Bat bike, right? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, the set pictures of the Bat bike, and
we got a little bit of a look at the suit too, and it was a little frumpy looking
goofy
on the stunt guy.
Yeah. But then he released these 3 pictures of the Batmobile, and the Batmobile is fucking rad, dude. It's real cool. It is
very muscle car inspired from the looks of it.
That's right.
Closer to a real car, or, a traditional car than to the ridiculous wings flying off the, kind of craziness that we sometimes see with the Batmobiles, Burton-esque Batmobiles and such.
It's juiced way up. That motor is like it's got a total. It's a rear-mounted motor, and it's all exposed. And it looks like I was trying to find a high-res picture of it because I was trying to look at the motor, but I know that it's got 2 turbos on it, which is cool. And one thing I didn't quite get, I think it looks really awesome, but it just seems like Batman would benefit from an electric car. It's completely quiet. You wouldn't hear it, it just seems like, but then again, maybe the muscle car like instills fear in
yeah,
crime.
So you can hear that shit from 5 miles away and you're like, fucking Batman's on his way. We better get the fuck out of
here. But yeah, totally cool car. It does have like the style. It's got like, I don't know, the back of it looks like it's winged a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, this is a Batmobile beyond the fact that it's a car that's black that, associates it with the character. It doesn't look like a normal car. It looks kind of like a souped up, jacked up kind of normal car, but it's still clearly, it looks like a car that was modified to be this as something that was built from the ground up to be the Batmobile.
Right.
Compared to previous iterations, I'd say. Yeah, I think it looks cool. We also get, I think, probably the best look that we have yet seen of the Batsuit itself, too, as part of these pictures. I mean, he's still kind of off in the distance a little bit, but we finally see the ears, which we didn't get in the Batsuit reveal.
Which look awesome.
That was bathed in red light. Yeah, I think it looks better with the ears. You also see a bit of the suit. You see the cape, more of the cape. I don't know if you saw the cape
and
before.
He's got like the, he has like a, oh shit, he's got like a fucking collar. His cape has a collar thing going on, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that looks pretty neat. I think the suit looks better here than it did certainly in the set pictures that we saw on the bike. But
for sure.
I think compared to what we know with the close-up that we got of the cowl, I think it looked good, but this gives you a better sense of where the costume is. And it's another thing that looks, I don't want to say cobbled together per se, because I don't think I'd be able to cobble together that, but I suppose if you're a billionaire, this still feels like almost a work in progress type suit, where it's, a few things that are kind of piecemeal put together to create the Batsuit. It seems a bit more plated in the chest, and then the pants seem more like a combat operational dress uniform type pants, kind of closer to maybe what like Captain America's pants are in terms of just like cloth and feel and texture.
Looks like he's got some pretty meaty gauntlets, though.
Some pretty serious looking gauntlets, though. That'll fuck you up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Say they don't fear the Batmobile. They fear the gauntlets that are coming, that are driving behind the wheel of the Batmobile. But yeah, I think it looks good. I'm excited to see more of it. Obviously, production's shut down on this, so we'll see how that kind of impacts the film long term in terms of release date delays and stuff like that. But I think it's good. I think it's looking good. Excited about the Batman.
I am excited about Batman. Yeah.
And our Pats as the Batman. It's going to be cool, I think.
Do you think flames are going to shoot up from the exhaust from the turbos? Pa, 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 pa. I bet it's going to shoot fucking flames up like the old, like that 90s Batman.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to say no, just to take a different stance. I'm going to say it's going to be a bit more grounded, and there's going to be no flames coming out of the back, unless there's a NOS button, Fast and Furious style, which ejects the flames, and it goes from 200 to 300 miles an hour. That's my bold prediction.
Anyways, that's Matt Reeves' Batmobile. That's some cool shit.
So moving on to some other news. We have a word from HBO that they're going to be working on another video game adaptation to tie into the video game adaptation theme that we've got going here. The Last of Us is getting the HBO treatment.
Ooh, boy.
The man that's going to be, basically developing it, working on it, producing it is one Craig Mazin, the creator of Chernobyl.
Oh my goodness!
So that's pretty cool. He'll be teaming up with the creative director and writer of both The Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2, Neil Druckmann. So it's not just him taking the thing and running with it. It seems like it's going to be with a coordinated effort with Naughty Dog, or at least creatives involved at Naughty Dog to develop the critically acclaimed video game into hopefully what should be a shoe-in for a critically acclaimed series if they do it right, because it's a fucking excellent game. They did unfortunately announce today that Part 2 is being delayed because of logistical concerns. I think they want to do a worldwide launch with the game, but they don't have the resources to actually, I think, manufacture and ship the game everywhere. So I think they're kind of holding out until things kind of hopefully return to some sense of normalcy, so they can do kind of that unified launch. But the first game it's a very story driven game. Obviously the gameplay is a huge part of why it's so good too, but it's a very impactful story, I think, within that game, and I think it's one that really kind of lends itself to like a premiere television show. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
And I think they found a pretty good creative to work with, though. So,
I mean, if you're gonna bring Last of Us to the television medium, I think there's HBO is definitely the place to go. I think, especially with the guy that did Chernobyl. That's going to speak. It speaks volumes about how heavy this show is going to hit.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to hit on some seriously mature adult themes. Obviously, there's going to be gore and violence. It's, basically zombies, even if they're, I don't think, quite called that within the game. But, there's more to it than just that. I mean, I just remember the prologue from the game. I won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't had a chance to play the game. But if the series opens with that as like a cold open, like that will set the tone right away, the same way that the game did. And I think that will tell you if this thing is for you or not for you, I suppose, right off the bat.
And I think,
but
it's
a dark and harrowing universe. And say that again.
I said I think that guy that Chernobyl, the creator, what's his name?
Yeah, Craig Mazin.
Yeah, I think he can deliver on that. I think he can reproduce that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the tone of Chernobyl. I mean, obviously, it's intended to be a much more. Well, it's based off something that actually happened. But I think you can still see that kind of tone. Working with the kind of story and the world that The Last of Us presents to us. So I think it's a good ways away. I think they announced that they won't really put it into production until Part 2 comes out, and now that's not May 29th as it once was. So we'll see how long this takes to come together. But it's adapting the first game, and presumably if it's successful, then they'll continue to adapt the second game, which I assume will probably be successful. So
miniseries, or are you thinking?
I think it'll probably be no more than 8 episodes, I think, for a first season, if I had to guess. I don't think there's enough in the game to really do anything more than that unless they bring in stuff from part 2. But I think they'd probably want to keep it pretty self-contained. And I don't think you could really stretch the game out. I mean, you could pad it out, I guess, to a couple seasons, but I just hope they don't do that. I don't think it needs that kind of treatment.
No. I'd be happy if it was the same exact thing that Chernobyl had. If you had, 6 episodes?
I think it was 5.
5 episodes?
5 episodes, I think.
That'd be nice.
I could see this one being more than that, but yeah, I think I think you could definitely do it in 5 either way. So yeah. So that's that. What else you got over there? Any goodies?
Yes, Star Wars goodies.
Ho. Definitely some Star Wars goodies.
Yes. Rosario Dawson cast as Ahsoka Tano.
Megaton right here.
Absolute megaton, dude. That is
pretty wild.
I got kind of I just said it and I spoke it and I kind of got goosebumps a little bit.
You know, the crazy thing is, I think Rosario Dawson has been fan cast as Ahsoka so many times that when I saw this news break, and it broke from /film to credit the original source on this. I don't know how reliable they are, but I was very skeptical at first. I'm just like, okay, sure. You know, just because I feel like I've seen this, and I'm like, all right, no, it's not coming from StarWars.com or, a super reputable trade, maybe they're reputable. But then a bunch of other sources independently reporting on it, confirming, and I'm like, hot damn, it's happening. So then I kind of allowed myself to react appropriately, and I still haven't finished Clone Wars, but I have seen plenty of Ahsoka, and I know kind of where her character goes, to some extent in Rebels, that it's really fucking cool. And it's great casting, because Rosario is great, and I think she certainly looks like she will fit the role. I think that's why she's been fan cast so often, is because she has the look to her. So yeah. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts are, yeah, she's going to be awesome as Ahsoka. I do like the voice actor. I don't know how well of an actor that lady is, but I think she's a great voice actress.
I was going to ask you that, because I've asked kind of most people that I've talked to about this. How would you handle that? I mean, I know, I think people obviously wanted Ashley Eckstein to just play the live-action version of Ahsoka, even though I don't think she totally resembles the character in real life. But there is a solution of, do you let Rosario physically portray the character and have her dubbed by Ashley Eckstein to keep that, voice continuity, or do you let Rosario just kind of do it all and don't worry about the inconsistency type thing? I mean, it's not the first time that voices change throughout the franchise. Darth Maul in particular is one that has changed from film to television back to film. So
I would say that I don't mind it much, especially because, I mean, this is taking place 20, 25 years, 30 years after Rebels.
Yeah, even Rebels, right? True.
So with that being said, naturally your voice is going to change a little bit. You're going to be, I don't know. I think it's totally fine. I don't have any problems.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, the chronology of it, but either way, good casting. I think that's safe to say. Excited about it. I think just separate from this, we've also heard that Bill Burr is coming back for season 2. Michael Biehn from fucking Terminator.
Yeah.
In some capacity. So I think that's some pretty cool shit.
That is some pretty cool shit.
I think we're all excited to see what Johnny V has in store for The Mandalorian season 2.
What other movies has that guy been in? He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in something that are Aliens. That's right. That's what I was thinking of. And Tombstone. He was the fucking guy in Tombstone. The bad guy. Yeah. Yep. I like him. Cool. That's real cool. All of that's real cool. I would like to apologize before continuing on. There's construction going on in my home right now. We are refinishing cabinetry, and I have some friends over, and they are sanding the cabinets and painting the cabinets out there. So,
are they making a ruckus?
They are making a ruckus. So you might hear construction equipment, sanders, paint guns, that sort of thing going on in the background. So please forgive me.
You are forgiven. Actually, I don't know. I'll wait until I edit the episode before I decide whether to forgive you.
Fair enough.
But to be fair, I haven't heard anything through the headphones, but sometimes it doesn't quite capture everything that comes in on your microphone. But that's okay. We'll just have to work with what we got. Moving on to some other news. Taika Waititi working with Netflix on a pair of animated series based off of Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, jeez.
1964 children's novel about the adventures of young Charlie Bucket inside the chocolate factory of Willy Wonka. So one series is intended to be based, I think, kind of on the book itself. No, I think I lied. I think I'm completely full of shit. I don't think either of these are intended to be adaptations of the book. I think what the first show is said to explore is the world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and the other one is to focus on the Oompa Loompas.
Oh my gosh.
So, who knows what's going on with this?
That's going to be interesting.
But to quote Netflix Vice President of Original Animation Melissa Cobb, quote unquote, finding just the right creative partner to bring Willy Wonka, Charlie, and the Oompa Loompas to life in animation was a daunting task, ... until Taika walked into the room. Then it was really obvious. If Dahl had created a character of a filmmaker to adapt his work, I'm pretty sure he would have created Taika.
That's yeah. I can't think of anybody else to.
So, as wild as this sounds, I mean, 2 shows on Charlie and the Chocolate. I mean, what are you doing, right? But maybe Taika's characteristic weirdness and unique touch will be exactly what this wants. What exactly what this needs. So I don't know. It's very interesting. Taika is. I think he's different from those other filmmakers where I'm just like, you pay attention to what he does. Like, you talk about an Alex Garland type, totally like different part of the spectrum, but I think the same principle of, you know what, fuck it. Yeah. I'll see what's going on. I'll see what Taika's up to these days.
Let him make what he wants to make.
Right. So if he wants to make some weird ass Charlie and the Chocolate Factory shit, then he should have at it by all means. I don't really have anything else on it. I just think it's such a wild kind of headline
crazy
that I had to bring it up.
But it's perfect. It's perfect for Netflix. It's perfect for Taika.
Yeah, and it's animated too. I think that helps. I think,
kind of animating style do you think it's going to be? What would you do? Think about it.
I don't know. I really don't know. And I wonder if they do 2 different animated styles for each show too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Instead of keeping it consistent between the 2. But I don't know. I like the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, and then
that's gold.
Not so much the Johnny Depp one. So as long as it more Gene Wilder and less Johnny Depp would be, if I had to if you had to go binary and choose one of those sensibilities. But I would think the third option is probably the best thing, is just let Taika's imagination run wild and see where it takes you. Which I imagine is somewhere far apart from either of those kind of iterations. So we'll see.
What else you got?
I have some news. Black Widow has debuted a presumptive final trailer. However, it dates the film for...
I have another one.
It dates the film for May 1st, which is not happening anymore. So they may re-release this final trailer and just call it final trailer for real this time, with a new date whenever that does happen. But we did get quite a bit of new footage, a bit of an increased focus on Taskmaster, mastering about.
It's pretty cool.
A little bit more Yelena, Florence Pugh's character. There was more in this trailer, I think, than we'd gotten in some of the previous trailers. And I would say Black Widow's been kind of an interesting kind of progression from trailers for me. I think a lot of times, like, the first trailer kind of like blows your socks off, and then as other things come out, you're kind of just be like, all right, I've seen enough, I don't need any more. Whereas Black Widow, I think I was kind of just being like, oh, this wasn't what I expected. Not that I didn't like it, but it just wasn't what I thought it would be.
Right.
And I think maybe since 3 or trailers or more trailers have come out, like, I've kind of recalibrated my expectations, but I thought this was the best trailer yet.
I thought so too. I thought it did a good job of establishing the villain a little bit more than the other trailers did.
Yeah,
so.
and I think he looks appropriately pretty cool. still have my qualms about the mask, but it's bothered me less, I guess, since the reveal. But I think that, it does look very Marvel Studios. It looks very Marvel action-packed. It doesn't look like a spy movie. I don't think it's intended to be a spy movie.
No.
If it ever was, it certainly isn't now. But I think it looks pretty good, So I'm excited to kind of see what happens with it. We'll have to see what happens in terms of when the hell this movie, again, does come out. But I would say, I don't know, Wonder Woman snagged that August spot. I would say that would have probably been my guess for Marvel to push back. But I don't know, maybe they can still get this out, within the summer period. But I don't know. I guess there's always Disney Plus, but I just can't see them doing that with something this big. Even if it's not Avengers level. The New Mutants just needs to go on Hulu. Like, don't even taint Disney Plus with that. Just put it on Hulu. It's fine.
Keep it on Hulu. That's funny.
Just put it on Hulu. Black Widow coming whenever. Looks good. Excited for it. We'll talk about it at some point. Hopefully this year.
Hopefully.
You have another piece of news you want to talk about that?
I was gonna save my last piece of news.
You think it's a little topical? Is that why?
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
All right. I see what you're doing. Well, in that case, I will talk about my last piece of news, which involves a sequel to a movie that we quite enjoyed, that we watched the beginning of, I believe, 300 to 400 times. First 10 seconds.
There's a delay. Let me fix it.
And that movie is Train to Busan. I think we've explained this story a couple times, but it's been a while. There was a weird audio-visual sync issue when we watched it at Andrew's home once upon a time, where the dialogue didn't exactly match the lips, and there was one particular line of dialogue. I still don't think do we know what it means? It wasn't, it's in Korean with English subtitles.
I'm not sure.
But we seriously watched the same snippet of dialogue 300 times to be like, is the sync right? Is it better this time?
Probably for a solid hour and a half. I mean, it
was a while. I think we switched consoles or something like that, and that was kind of what fixed it. I don't remember.
That's it.
Anyway, Train to Busan, excellent movie. Great movie.
Awesome movie.
And we have a follow-up entitled Train to Busan Presents Peninsula.
Which is completely absurd.
Which, just call it, we'll call it Peninsula, it's fine. We got a teaser for it. Minute and a half teaser. Takes place 4 years after Train to Busan's events. Same director coming back, Yun Sing-ho. But it looks like a very different movie. Very different movie.
Yes. It almost looks like, there was a Romaro spin-off movie that kind of came out a long time ago. It kind of looks like the same kind of thing with the people fighting in the cage match, and just kind of like the world after it succumbed to the zombies. We'll see what happens with it. I think this looks less interesting than Train to Busan, but Train to Busan was absolutely incredible. Do you know if it's the same guy?
It's the same director. So
okay. So I mean, I would say I give him the benefit of the doubt to keep it going. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I fully agree. If this was this thing was popular and successful, let's make a sequel that's independent of everything that made the first one work, I would feel a lot more apprehensive about it. But I feel like my faith is not misplaced in the original director coming back, presumably with a vision of kind of where the world has advanced to within the 4 years that have happened. Because Train to Busan's kind of that's kind of the beginning of the outbreak, right? And
yeah.
And things kind of spiraling and getting out of control. And obviously 4 years later, shit's just their new normal has set in at that point. And so this is kind of where the events of the film take place. I saw something about basically the director is saying that his desire to craft a sequel was that he wanted to do something that was radically different in tone and plot. And so far I think we're getting indications of that from the trailer, certainly. The trailer itself was edited a little too fast and furious, especially with the Train to Busan Presents for my liking. I don't know if that's American audiences like Fast and Furious, elite this shit up kind of thing. But I have to wonder if that's going to be reflective of the film's tone, or if that's just a trailer editing kind of style from an American company that's distributing it over here.
And the name sucks. That name sucks.
Peninsula would be fine. Just call it Peninsula. It's fine. I mean, it doesn't tell you that it's a sequel to the Train to Busan, but it's fine. I mean, I think it's loosely a sequel anyway. So, same world. I assume none of the same characters. Maybe it is. Is it the same guy?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it is actually connected in terms of characters. I might be mistaken on that front. But regardless, I saw someone in the YouTube comments suggesting that it could be an Alien to an Aliens type scenario, which is kind of an interesting approach of, create a radically different sequel. One that works for different reasons, but they're both successful on their own terms, and so that would be kind of a nice parallel to aspire to. So hopefully that is what happens. And last but not least, your news, which is certainly appropriate for this episode, is
Blumhouse Productions. Is that right?
Yep.
Blumhouse and Universal are partnering together to develop Dracula. Yes, which is pretty cool. And Karen Kusama, who I guess directed Destroyer, The Invitation, and Jennifer's Body, is supposed to direct. Is Jennifer's Body, is that the one with Megan Fox?
That would be the one, correct?
I don't think I ever saw that. I'm not sure what The Invitation or Destroyer is though either.
I don't think I saw any of those 3 movies you've listed, but clearly horror movies, or at least horror-tinged movies, so there's some pedigree there in terms of this not being out of her wheelhouse, from the sounds of it anyway.
And Blumhouse is...
Well, I mean, this is coming off the back of The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
The exact same team, basically, and so I think that's probably why this is happening is, hey, that one worked out really well. I think what they're trying to do is, instead of doing like a big MCU-styled universes, we'll just make some movies using these characters that aren't connected to each other, that are moderately budgeted, which is kind of what Blumhouse does, is micro-budget films, and lo and behold, you have The Invisible Man making, I think, $100 million or something like that, worldwide, which for its budget is incredible. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to aim to do. And so naturally, The Invisible Man works. You do Dracula next, or at least kind of as one of the next few projects. Totally makes sense. And I think it has a lot of potential. I don't know anything too much. I've never seen anything that Karen Kusama has directed, but
I have actually.
Oh, okay.
Apparently she did Aeon Flux.
Oh, the Charlize one back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw that technically.
You never saw that? It was real bad.
Yeah, I remember it looking stylish, as I recall.
Yeah, it was like she was a screenwriter on that too, to be fair.
Okay.
She wasn't the director. But this, I pulled up to her IMDb. The Invitation certified fresh at 88%.
Oh, very good. Cool.
Yeah.
I also saw that she did some directing on the Stephen King HBO show, The Outsider.
Yeah.
The new one. So that's good. Definitely good. But yeah, I'm excited. I think Dracula is a cool character. He's obviously been used in a lot of mediums, including the show that we're talking about on this episode. But I think that kind of a micro-budgeted Dracula movie sounds good. Hopefully better than the last effort with Dracula Untold, which was very not good. But yeah, I think Universal, Blumhouse, like back to basics kind of approaches for these characters sounds way better than Dracula Untold, The Mummy, and all that trash that they were trying to give us for a little while there. So cool. I hope The Invisible Man and its success becomes a trend, not just financially, but also in terms of critical success. So
yeah, I'm curious to see how they set the movie and all that good stuff. I really like Dracula as a character. I think he's awesome. Do they do Interview with the Vampire kind of style, like old school vampires in a modern world, kind of like what they did with The Invisible Man, or do you think it's an old timey movie?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I would think at first glance, a smaller budget means that probably a modern take is easier to do, cheaper to do, I would guess. But
versus a period piece,
or if it's a period piece, then it's a confined setting type thing. I mean, The Invisible Man obviously really only had a couple settings that it mostly took place within. So I think that would be an approach that would certainly work. I mean, if The Invisible Man can pull off that crazy ass like futuristic home complex for $7 million, I think Castlevania, or not Castlevania. Sorry, I already want to talk about it. I think that Dracula can pull off, kind of a Transylvanian, castle or, whatever you'd want to do with Dracula. Even if you only spend time in 3 to 4 rooms of the castle, you could still make it work potentially. So I don't know. That's a good question though. I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
I like old timey Dracula more so myself. I think it's more interesting. I think the setting is more interesting, but I think it could work with either. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see where it goes. That's what we got. We're talking about Castlevania now.
Yeah, we'll have lots of Dracula talk very shortly. Castlevania is a Netflix original series written by Warren Ellis, directed mostly by Sam Dietz, developed by Adi Shankar, based, of course, off of the many entries into the Castlevania video game series. In particular, the series draws most of its inspiration from Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Has a long voice cast, some actors dipping in for one season or another, but just some names that are involved in this show. Some good names, I might add. Richard Armitage, James Callis, Graham McTavish, Alejandra Reynoso, Emily Swallow, the Armorer, Theo James, Adetokunbo McCormick, Jamie Murray, Peter Stormare, Jessica Brown Finley, Bill Nighy, Navid Negaban, and Jason Isaacs. So Castlevania is about a vampire hunter who fights to save a besieged city from an army of otherworldly beasts controlled by Dracula himself. And of course, as the series develops, it gets a little bit more complicated than that, but we'll get into that in just a little while. So how we're going to do this is, I know that we've talked about it on episodes past, but I think what makes sense is to just kind of do an overall series discussion, seasons 1 through 3, on this episode. So that way anyone, popping in here isn't just hearing about season 3, and that way they can kind of get a sense of how seasons 1 and 2 are. If you get a sense of, hey, this is from here. Oh, I don't want this. I don't think I'd like this. So that's kind of what we're going to do.
I like this.
we're gonna do non-spoilers. We're gonna talk about the series overall. Seasons 1, 2, and 3. We'll keep it non-spoilery at first. We'll do a series recommendation, and then when we get to spoilers, we'll go season by season. Season 1's very short. There's not a whole lot to talk about there. We also watched it years ago. Season 2, I think, came out in maybe 2018. I can't remember. I think it was pretty short after season 1. I think the wait for season 3 was longer. So I'm not sure how much we'll have to say about that, but it was a little bit longer. So I think the bulk of our spoiler conversation will inevitably talk about season 3 because that's very recent. It's longer. It's more to talk about. It's a lot of separated plot lines as compared to the previous seasons. So naturally, I think the conversation is going to gravitate towards season 3. But again, I want to kind of keep it focused on the series in general, at least initially, just to kind of keep it mostly self-contained in terms of the conversation. So on that note, on a non-spoiler note, I turn it over to you for your assessment of Castlevania, the Netflix original series. What do you think about it? You like it?
I think it's totally awesome.
All right. Well,
that's what I say.
I agree.
Season 1 is like 4 episodes, and they're like 20 minutes each.
Yeah, it's a movie broken up into 4 parts. It's like an hour-and-a-half movie broken up into 4 parts, really.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. I didn't look at the episode count. I didn't look at anything when I started it, and because it's so cool, like I wrote it out for 4 episodes real quick, like one sitting, and then it was done.
It was done for. It was done for over a year. I'm looking at the release dates now. I don't think I mentioned them. July 17, 2017 for the first season, October 2018 for the second season, and then March 2020 for the third season. So,
yeah, I wasn't a happy camper when it was fucking done. It's like, oh my God, anyways, so, what was I getting at? Yeah, first season, real short, incredibly badass animation. So cool. Really does a super effective job of establishing the characters. Everything's very compelling. You have a sympathetic villain, I think, to a certain extent from what I can remember.
Well, I mean, the way that the series starts kind of gets you a sense of where old Drac is coming from. But I think that even the second season does a good job of giving you a bit more backstory for him as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, he remains a compelling character throughout the thing. It's not like he's just a big bad. in the castle. Go fight them. Does a real good job of establishing the universe and the characters. The animation's awesome. The music is awesome. I really like everything really about it. Other than 20-minute episodes and 4-episode count.
Yeah,
but at this point,
for sure,
for anybody listening to this podcast right now, there's no reason not to watch it. Like if I would known that, if I would have known it was a 4-episode count, I don't know. I guess there's no reason not to dive in because it's only an hour and a half worth of material. But at the same time, it's like, well, fuck, man, I'd just rather watch it when I can follow it up with season 2. And now you can do that. So
yeah, I know. I think when season 2 dropped, I ended up rewatching season 1 because it was so short.
Yeah,
I was just like, why not? It's just, it's watching a movie, like I said. The episode count is different for each season. Season 1 was 4 episodes. Season 2 was 8 episodes. Season 3 was 10 episodes. So if you're jumping in now, if you haven't seen any of it, I mean, you have 22 episodes at your disposal. So that's a pretty sizable amount of content that you can dive into now. And I think season 1 is pretty self-contained. It's really an introductory piece. Like it feels like a pilot, like an extended pilot in some ways. And season 2 is really, I think, where the show kind of comes into its own in terms of giving you the characterization that is, I think it's kind of signature. And season 3 builds from an interesting season 2 and sometimes unexpected. And, season 3 really kind of has to figure out, all right, what is this show now? And I think it does an interesting job with that, which we'll talk about more in spoilers. I think kind of more broadly speaking about the show, I agree with everything you've said. I really like the animation in it. The style of it is very cool. I know that it's supposed to be kind of inspired by kind of the artwork from Symphony of the Night, which is kind of regarded, I think, as one of the best, if not the best, kind of Castlevania game of all time, originally released for the PlayStation.
Is that the one with the really fancy, like, watercolored art?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the artist that's done a lot of stuff for Castlevania is Ayami Kojima, and I think that he's done stuff for quite a few games within the series. But I think that the Symphony of the Night was his first involvement with the series, and I think that's kind of you see the look, and it's kind of a signature, like, oh, I recognize that style, and this show does a good job of kind of taking that and making it kind of its style for the whole series in general. So I think the animation's great, but I think the writing is what makes the show work so well, because video game adaptations, even if they have done fairly well recently, I didn't love Sonic, I liked Pikachu more. But I think in general, like, video game adaptations have been better recently, but this is, it's a TV show, right? But I think in general, it might be one of the best video game adaptations. Oh yeah, out there.
It's strong, definitely strong.
I think it captures the tone of the games pretty well, at least the ones that I've played. It's adult. It's an adult fucking show. This is not safe for kids. It's bloody, violent. There's foul language. Demons and all sorts of crazy ass shit. There's crazy things that happen in this series. Really cool things, I think, but some crazy things certainly. And Warren Ellis has he wrote every episode for this show, so it comes from this one kind of unique perspective, I think, that he gives. And I think sometimes the danger with having one central writer for everything is that things start to feel samey, or characters start to feel like the same character because they're all written by the same person. But I don't think that's true here. I feel like each character gets their own distinct personality. I think the dialogue itself is usually, sometimes it's funny because it oscillates between like being kind of goofy funny and like just really kind of well spoken and well realized and just kind of cool sounding, right? For a lot of it. But it does, I think, a good blend of kind of that. Balancing kind of an adult style of humor with some serious macabre shit, throughout the series. So I think you have a really, really creative vision brought to life with some really excellent animation, and it makes for an excellent it makes for an awesome combination. The voice cast, I think, is great. Trevor, Alucard, and Sypha are kind of your main three. More or less. Dracula, I suppose you could bunch in there as well. Not obviously as a protagonist, but as the central antagonist of the show. But the voice cast is great across the board. I don't have any complaints with the voices. They've gotten some really, really fucking impressive talent, especially season 3, Jason Isaacs and Bill Nighy. I mean, that's really pretty awesome. Even season 2, like Peter Stormare and Godbrand, just cool. Like there's just some really, really good people involved that, are good actors, and they put good performances in. I suppose, there's certain. I think people that are like voice actors for their career, like, are always good, and I think sometimes there's a danger, again, with just regular film screen actors going into the recording booth and not really kind of being able to give the same type of performance that they can when you actually are seeing them. But I don't think that's true here. I think they're all really, really great.
I really enjoyed, on a side note, I really enjoyed Bill, how do you pronounce his last name? Nighy?
Bill Nighy. Yeah, he's the Saint Germain from season 3.
Saint Germain, yes.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed his voice acting on this. I actually saw him in a movie called... was that Love movie I watched when I was up there in Myrtle Beach? Love Actually. He was in Love Actually. It was completely over the top. He was like a rock star that was just, he didn't give a shit what he did. He like took off his pants on TV, and he was strung out on cocaine and stuff. And anyways, yeah, really cool actor. Really enjoy him. And he was awesome in this cartoon.
Yeah. And I think, last but not least, in terms of the series overall, is it's a cool fucking story.
It is a cool story.
I think it takes a pretty simple premise from, the I don't think the games, at least the early games, are really that hinged around their stories.
No.
It's Dracula's castle, go beat up demons and kill Dracula. Like those are pretty much the games. The early games for sure. I think the later ones expand a bit more on the lore, but it's still a gameplay driven game, and they're fun games to play, sometimes brutally difficult games to play. But the story, the lore is cool, but this I think this show does a good job of taking cool lore and expanding it into a plot, a sensible plot that's interesting to follow with a cast of characters that makes sense within it, that acts reasonably within it. And I think it's a cool world. It's a period piece, but it still has elements of magic seeded throughout. Obviously, hell and demons and night creatures and whatnot. So it's a wild kind of thing. But I think the story itself is really cool, and the way that it's told is really well constructed. And I think that, again, season 3 kind of had an interesting job to do on the tail end of season 2 in terms of how the story resolves itself there. It doesn't feel like it's naturally made for a continuation, but I think it does a good job of keeping the same feel, tone, and advancing the story. It's still in an interesting way, at least in my opinion. So I would say that this is a damn good show. It's an excellent series. Of course, it is animated. I'm sure everyone's got a sense of that from us talking about the animation and stuff like that. And it's a very specific kind of tone that's maybe going to be disarming to some or off-putting, I guess, to others. But safe to say it's another show, kind of like The Witcher, kind of like Mando, that it's kind of 100% our shit. I think we're
sure. Yeah, predisposed.
We're kind of tailor-made for this kind of show, and it's a really well done version. Even though this is kind of tailor-made for people like us, you can still have a shitty version of this.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And this is not that. Like, this really, really does kind of hit the mark overall. When your complaint is, God damn it, this first season is too short, that's a good complaint.
That's a good complaint, sure.
And so, yeah. Any other thoughts, kind of overall series or season-specific on the non-spoiler end of things?
Season-specific non-spoiler?
Sorry, that was probably a very confusing question. I just meant, do you have any other non-spoiler thoughts in general as it pertains to the series or as it pertains to any of the particular seasons?
There's a character in the show. His name is Alucard, and I think he is incredibly badass, especially when he comes, when he is revealed. So he revealed season 1, like the end of season 1, right? Yeah. It's fucking cool. Anyways, that's that.
Well, we'll talk about him more in spoilers then.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
All right, recommendation then. I think it's pretty safe to say that we like it. I guess the question is, how much do we like it? For another reminder, I think we've done a lot of TV shows lately. It's going to be the trend moving forward. Get used to it, I think is probably safe to say. Our TV recommendation scale is 5-tiered. At the top, the highest recommendation we can give for a TV show is something we call very yes. And in descending order, we go to yes, totally fine, fine, and the very bottom we have shithouse. I think it's okay. I think it's fair for me to say that it's going to be either a yes or a very yes show. So I'm curious where you stand. I think we're going to agree. It's my hot take for the day.
I think it's a very yes.
I think it's a very yes too. I think we do agree on that one. It's a fucking cool show. I think there's very little shortcomings with it. You know, I mean, I guess again we're predisposed to it. I think season 3 pacing is maybe an issue you could point to potentially. In the sense that it has 10 episodes, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the series overall. I think season 3 really had a difficult task. I'll talk about it later. I've probably been kind of hitting on it a little bit, but
we'll talk about it. I think
we'll talk about it.
But I think season 3 they're taking the show into a new direction, or different directions they took it in, I should say.
For sure.
And I think that's totally fine. I don't know how I haven't played a whole lot of Castlevania games, so I don't know how much they're actually. I don't know how they're playing with the source material. I mean, if it's just fast and loose at this point, or if the things that happened in this game or the characters are present in Castlevania games, I don't know. But season 3 feels different than season 1 and 2. But like I said, I think that's okay. I think the show's evolving, so I enjoy. I never not enjoyed it. I'll say that.
I'd agree with that. I fully agree with that. Honestly, because season 1 is so short, effectively blends right into season 2.
That's right.
I think
that's
one
fair.
and 2 are very interconnected, whereas 3 feels like a sort of reset in terms of how the show progresses. So I think it's just it's a little bit. I don't want to say it's jarring, but I mean, it's just an adjustment coming off of the backs of 1 and 2, certainly. But I think it's still great. In spite of doing something different, I think it does something different just as well. So yes, it's a very yes series, I think, for both of us. Highly recommended. Check it out on Netflix. We all know you have plenty of free time, so I think the only excuse you could really muster is that it's just not the kind of show for you, which I think is totally valid. I could definitely...
Sure.
I think there's a specific audience that's kind of pre-built for this. I'm not sure that it really is going to reach beyond that. I think just kind of due to the nature of the show, but I think that if it's anything kind of even somewhere in your wheelhouse, I think you'd really find something to like here. Would be my guess anyway.
Sure.
So, with that said, we shall dive into full spoilers for Castlevania. And how we'll do this is we'll go season by season. I think our season 1 discussion can be pretty short, pretty truncated by the nature of the short episode count. And we'll go season by season, and we'll just see where it takes us. So starting with season 1, I took the honors of drafting up a little summary for each season, so hope you guys enjoy my fine writing. I couldn't find anything. I usually just like to crib these things from the internet, but I couldn't find anything specific that was short enough for my liking, and I didn't want to inundate people with, a full plot summary. Sometimes I think I let things get a little away from me, and I'm trying to not do that here. So season 1, the heir to a noble monster-slaying family, a witch, and a sleeping soldier unite to challenge Dracula and end his reign of terror. That's kind of the first season. Is what's going on with Dracula? What's his backstory? Who's Lisa? Why is Dracula doing what he's doing? And then who are these 3 clowns, and what are they? What are they up to? Like, that's kind of season 1, right?
Yes, I think it's
to
also
the best of your recollection.
Yeah. At this point, though, it's established that the heir to a noble monster-slaying family, the Belmonts, the family's like squandered down to nothing, right? Like the character himself struggles with living up to the reputation of his family name, even though his family name is kind of shit at this point. I can't remember why it was shit, right? Or was it shit?
I think what happened, if I recall correctly, and I think some of this is touched on in season 3, so maybe that's why I am recalling, if I am indeed recalling, and if I am indeed recalling correctly. The Belmonts, I think, were, there's a lineage of monster slayers, vampire hunters, etc. And then when Dracula summons the night creatures to wreck shit, people, I think, blame the Belmonts as part of that. And so I think the Belmonts kind of get driven out of like their home. I think Trevor's like a kid when they gets driven out of his home. And so he kind of grows up, detached from the noble lineage that he supposedly has. And so he's basically just drunk, when we meet him for the first time, he's just going kind of bar to bar, getting into fights and shit, drinking some ale and stuff, and kind of just generally being a drunken asshole, I would say.
That's what he was. It was great though. It's great.
An unlikely hero, even though he has, he's kind of destined for it in a way. He's still kind of is embracing the role of an unlikely hero. I guess by the end of season 1, I guess he kind of steps into it a little bit more.
And he meets the coolest character, Sypha.
Sypha Belnades.
Yes,
she's the coolest. You think? Okay,
she's pretty cool.
She's one of the speakers, so she's got some magical capabilities, which expand greatly throughout the show to great pleasure for me, at least, and probably for you, I would say.
Yeah,
in terms of very creative ways to dispatch demons and such.
Yeah, and it's just cool that she's part of a gypsy tribe of people that collect information, which is fucking cool. That's cool. So you got the heir to a monster slaying family who kicks ass, who has a whip and all sorts of shit, and then you've got this nomadic super intelligent witch woman, which is badass. And then they go into the bottom of the village, or they go into like the cellars, right? And they fight like a cyclops or something in there.
Yep.
Yeah,
they fight a cyclops.
That was cool as shit.
Well, I guess, isn't that where he finds Sypha? Isn't she like kind of frozen by the cyclops?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Yeah. And then the coolest part of season 1 is when they wake up Alucard.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the fucking floating sword.
Cool fucking sword fight. And I think the last episode of season 1. I mean, he said season 1, it's such an introductory piece because you don't even meet fucking Alucard until like the last like 15 minutes, I feel like, of that episode, if that. You kind of have this cool fight where he, after he gets woken up, and he's just like, all right, you're worthy, I will join you on your quest. Like, isn't that kind of how it plays out?
I think
more or
so,
less?
Something like that. Yeah.
Granted, it's been now close to 3 years since we've seen this. Well, I guess, like I said, I did rewatch it with season 2, so it's been close to 2 years since I've watched it last. But yeah, it's very short. It's there's just not a whole lot there in terms of story, but it really does a good job of setting the characters up. You get a sense as Trevor being this unlikely hero, but a bit of a drunkard. Alucard being this magical fucking badass half vampire, and Sypha. I don't remember how much it sets her up, but I think she does get an opportunity to be pretty badass after she's woken up past the Cyclops, if I recall correctly.
I think she helps them fight Alucard, doesn't she?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right. And I think the one thing that does stand out to me is the very beginning of the series with Dracula and his love story.
Yeah,
that's kind of how this show opens up. I think that's a big part too, that really sets up Dracula as a character, kind of something what you talked about previously of, being a sympathetic villain. Doesn't necessarily excuse his behavior, but certainly this is a show that exposes you to the deepest, darkest reaches of how bad humanity can be. And I think Dracula, I think Dracula's point is, fuck humanity. And at a certain point, sometimes you kind of think, yeah, you know what?
I get it.
Sometimes not wrong. And I think that viewpoint gets reinforced to some of the other characters that we see in later seasons too. But certainly, Lisa, comes into his life, and then she gets burnt at the stake, and Dracula basically promises to invent, he gives him like a year to like, I don't know what he does, but he's just, I don't even know if does he give him an opportunity to do anything, or he's just like, yeah, give me a year, I'm gonna fuck everyone up. Like, I don't know if that's kind of his play or exactly what happens.
I think he gave him an opportunity because of Lisa.
To, like, repent or something.
Okay. And I think they just shit on that, and so he said, "Fuck you! I'll rain death on everything," and he just goes completely berserk.
Well, and he does, doesn't he?
He does.
Well, and this show doesn't play nice with religion in general. I think that's safe to say. I don't think Warren Ellis seems to be a fan of institutionalized religion. If his depiction of it throughout the series is any indication, which, to be fair, I think. I mean, I don't know. Is Sypha necessarily religious per se, or is it more just about like the knowledge that they seek to maintain, like with this?
No, I don't think she's religious.
There's not a religious aspect. I couldn't remember.
No, I
clearly
think...
by season 3, she's okay with having some premarital intercourse. So that's clearly not part of religion. If so,
I think she's just part of that sect that collects everything.
Okay, like it's kind of a cultish type thing, but not necessarily in a pejorative way, just in the sense of, they're kind of ostracized of like, this bunch of weird fucking weirdos over here doing their weird shit with knowledge and magic and shit,
like a secret society. But then they're
like Jesus.
They're I think they're regarded well, aren't they? Maybe not by the church.
Maybe they are, but I think they are pretty separated though, aren't they?
They are.
I don't know.
They're nomadic.
Are they trying to kick them out in season 1? I could be wrong. I feel like the town is trying to kick him out. I don't know. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's season 2, what it's all about, right?
Yeah, so season 2 introduces they expand on everything in a big way.
Season 2 is like, you got the characters in place, you get the world in place. Season 2 is, we're going plot heavy. So my season 2 synopsis actually is not very plot heavy. It's basically just a restatement of season 1. Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard race against time to save the world from the fury of Dracula and his nefarious war council. So yes, that is, they've now united. Now they have to do the thing. That's season 2 in a nutshell. And yeah, you get there's like politics in it. It's like Dracula is kind of he's just kind of mopey throughout season 2. He's just like bleh, like he's just kind of depressed, and he kind of leaves a lot of things to his war council. And we get a lot of interesting characters, I think, introduced via the war council. Carmilla, Godbrand. You get the 2 humans that are working for Dracula and seemingly are okay with eradicating humanity as a species, and Hector and Isaac, who continue to get a lot of play through season 3 too.
And they're the ones that take dead bodies and transform them into demons, right?
They're Forge Masters.
That's right, Forge Masters. That's what it's called.
Yeah, so they got these cool knives that they can just stick you at the pointy end, and I don't know exactly how it works. I think they kind of delve a little bit in season 3, but I don't know if it's like a demon like taking over the body or exactly how it works. I don't know. Either way, some spooky shit going on for sure. But season 2 is really Dracula's kind of quest and what's going on with him, the war council, and then on the opposite side you have the kind of trio now united on their merry quest to eradicate Dracula and such. So that's kind of season 2, more or less. Is there anything...
Epic fight at the end?
Huge, super epic fight at the end. Cool music throughout the show. I think there's a lot of pieces that they lift from the games.
Yeah, it's real cool.
I should say. I don't think we mentioned that in non-spoilers, but towards the end of season 3 does the same thing, where it's just like some music kind of lifted from the game, kind of given some flair to match the rest of the treatment of the music in the series. But very cool. Yeah, the end of season 2 is awesome.
Fireballs and all sorts of ridiculous shit.
Well, because it's like it's the boss fight at the end of the game is the 3 fighting Dracula, and it's kind of no holds barred, and it does a really, really good job of it. And
Dracula's a beast.
The setting is cool. Dracula's a beast. Like I said,
in-game
you fight Dracula in a Castlevania game, he's not a pushover or anything like that. So I feel like the end of the season does a really, really good job of capturing like Dracula, when he is ready to give a shit, I guess, how he fights back. I don't know. It's just a super cool way that they ended the season. But it does, I don't know. Is there anything before we, I guess, kind of talk about the end and then move into season 3?
No, I'm
too much of the fine points of season 2. I just remember a lot of politicking between the war council. Godbrand is, like a drunk vampire guy that gets killed at some point, I think, by maybe Hector or Isaac. I don't remember. Maybe Carmilla is the one that does it. I really don't know. But
I can't remember a whole lot either.
I remember the characters being set up, but I don't remember the specifics of kind of what the bickering's all about. I mean, Carmilla makes a move against Dracula by the end of that. I remember that. She kind of recruits Hector to betray Dracula, and Isaac is loyal to Dracula, and then Dracula dumps him in a desert, basically saying, like, yeah, save yourself, get out of here, kind of thing.
Right.
But I kind of remember the end of it because that's kind of what sets up season 3, more or less. So I'm hard pressed to add much more on season 2.
I just remember the big fight at the end. That's the biggest one.
I do remember the big fight. I remember liking season 2 a lot. Like I feel like
the action was cool. The
action's great, but I feel like it also develops the chemistry between the trio. Like the banter between them is really continually good throughout. Like you kind of see them kind of grow together, get closer together, and I think that's really cool. So I think it was a nice combination of the 3 main characters being fun together, fun pairings together. Versus an interesting kind of war council that expands on
season 2 is the one where they go
Dracula's
to
castle.
Belmont's castle, right? Belmont's Trove of Knowledge, right. And I think he gets
doesn't he get isn't that where he gets like the cool whip from?
Yeah, I think he's gets just the silver whip,
mine.
The chain whip. Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, lots of cool whip action in season 2, season 3 particularly too. So yeah, season 3, old Drac meets his end at the hand of his son Alucard.
Yeah,
which is pretty intense. I think, what is it, season 2? Carmilla is trying to, I think, kind of take over from Dracula, and then she basically brings her whole army to wherever the castle is, and then the castle moves. I think Sypha moves the castle, and she's just like, what the fuck just happened? so she's in a bad spot, basically. And then that's kind of what I think sets the stage for that big conflict
you're right.
Happens.
Or it's what happens I think that's the beginning of season 3. She finally gets back to where she has to trek across the fucking world again or something.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, she's brought her army to this place, like ready to pop off this grand scheme of hers. And then boop, castle disappears. And she's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of her ending in season 2. Any other thoughts on season 2? Shall we get into the meat and bones here and talk about season 3, which
we're good. Keep it going.
Theoretically, we should have a little bit more to say here because it's certainly a bit more recent for us. So season 3, this is the first time I think where it kind of separates into more plot threads. Like I think there's kind of 4 distinct plot threads. I would argue, with characters kind of going in and out of that. But, the way I wrote it is Trevor and Sypha investigate a mysterious church in a small town. Alucard receives visitors from afar. Carmilla returns home with a new scheme in mind, and Isaac seeks revenge for Dracula's death. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think any of those stories intersect, do they? I think they probably will eventually. But would correct me if I'm wrong. Do you recall any of those stories kind of blending together at any given point?
No.
All right. So why don't we handle them one by one then, kind of Witcher style?
Okay.
Why don't we talk about Trevor and Sypha right off the bat? Because holy God, what happened at the end of this? Actually, what happened in episode 6? I guess we should say when Saint Germain goes on a little trip in a dream. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
the Infinite Corridor.
Yeah, Infinite Corridor is pretty fucked up.
Some wild shit. So I mean, by the end, this whole, I gotta say, season 3. I said something about pacing because I think it's pretty. It's not meandering, but it's kind of just like there's a mystery here, and they're not quick to unravel it. But then when it does get unraveled, things spiral very quickly. Like the last 2 episodes are just pure chaos. When I loved it, I ate it up for sure. But I liked the building of the mystery too. I would say, I wouldn't say that it was slow, but it really does spool it out. And then once shit hits the fan, it hits the fan in a massive way.
It did a really good job, especially with the cultist. Or not the cultist, the people in the
Priory.
Yeah, the Priory, that's it. I found that whole thing interesting. Also found the twist there with the shitty town. Like the entire time, the entire season, I thought that the mayor of the town was like a shitty dude. They made him look shady, right? The entire time.
Well, he looked like a shady dude. Just visually, he's like, this dude's up to no good.
But he never did. He never did anything bad.
Well.
He never did anything bad that I saw, right?
Did you finish the season?
Until the end of the season.
Okay, all right.
And then
all
you
right.
open up his locked door and it's a bunch of kids' shoes. That fucking guy. You know?
There's one scene where he's like profusely sweating and like wiping off his hands. And I wasn't exactly sure what he was getting up to. It seemed like he was getting up to a little bit of funny business.
Oh yeah?
A little bit of solo funny business.
Oh, no.
And I've seen people tie that to like kind of the shoes that we get and some, kind of maybe a fetish type of thing going on as like kind of, because it's a weird kind of cut where like what the hell is this dude doing? Like he's like acting really weirdly, and then it kind of just pivots because I think Trevor comes in with one of the monks. And you kind of it doesn't dwell on it too much, but I feel like it's just kind of one little thing to kind of like cue you in of like, what's going on with this?
Oh, see, then obviously I never saw that.
Well, there's the kid where he's like, why don't you go find this apple tree a ways away from town?
He did do that.
And so that kid's definitely dead. I guess we see the shoes anyway.
Right.
So it's made pretty clear. But yeah, it was a good kind of reveal because like he seemed shady, like it was set to reveal that he was shady, and then it kind of never did, and then it did.
Right.
And I thought it was an interesting way to handle that. I thought that was cool.
Got
your boy Saint Germain.
Saint Germain, yeah, the infinite corridor traveling guy, which we still don't know what the fuck his thing is. He's just a fucking dude searching for...
Apparently this is a character from the games that is a time traveler. And I don't know if he's time traveling via the infinite corridor.
At one point he says he's immortal too, right?
I could be, yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know exactly. I don't remember hearing those specific words, but I don't doubt it.
I think he was talking to himself and said something about him being immortal.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's a real cool thing that hopefully they dive more on because I thought it was an awesome character. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure we saw Metal Gear and his fucking dream. Just saying, like it got weird and trippy. It was some real Doctor Strange type shit for a little while there.
Yeah,
like it goes to a few different settings, and one of them's like a Metal Gear type looking thing, and then one of them's like a fucking ship from Alien lifting off.
Yeah,
and then there's I think the Aborigine, like an Australian Aborigine.
All sorts of craziness.
Looks straight at him and like it's just like swinging his fucking thing around. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
His bola or whatever that's called.
Yeah. And people are speculating that like apparently it's very similar to an X-Men character, which contractually makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But maybe it's just maybe it's just like a weird kind of off-brand kind of reference type thing in the way that like the alien ship is not the alien ship, but it's close enough to basically infer that. At least Metal Gear makes sense because of Konami, kind of being a connection there in terms of being the rights holder. But I don't know. This whole season is very Lovecraftian and kind of cosmic horror inspired in a way I definitely didn't expect it to be. But I thought
more so
really
tell
cool.
Any other season, even with the night creatures and stuff.
Like seasons 1 and 2 are pretty straight laced, like horror, hell, demons and stuff like that. Whereas this is like
cosmic
weird,
level
otherworldly shit going on. Yeah, which is cool. I thought it was really cool vibe that they kind of ran with here.
And it's cool that he opens up the portal to hell.
Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, it's just another dimension. Hell is another dimension, which is interesting. It's an interesting portrayal of the I don't know, the way that the world is set up in this IP. It's pretty interesting. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So apparently, if you die, your soul goes I guess your soul goes to hell, or maybe it doesn't, and hell just operates as a different plane. To where there's like some sort of like vampires came from this dimension because they have control over the only people that can control the fucking vampire or the demons are the
Forge Masters.
Forge Masters. Vampires
they're loyal to their creators. Yeah,
it's interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting thing though. Hell is a completely different plane.
It's definitely separated. Even the vampires don't have control over hell or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's
totally different thing. So I don't know.
Like meddling with it is like some wild shit. Clearly, just from what we see here.
Let's see what else is there.
Well, I mean, there's Trevor and Sypha.
The Trevor and Sypha, the fucking fight in the basement.
Yeah,
where they got the demon like crucified on the cross.
Yep.
You know, and he's up there, and then he like morphs into like super mega soul eater monster, and he does like
he just fucking incinerates everyone in town with the marks on the houses and stuff like that. Feeds the demon with it and pumps him up. He gets all buff and shit.
Oh, it's crazy. And then you get this super anime, you get the super anime double whip action. Yeah, it's just so cool. It's so
Sypha
cool.
was going to town with her icicles, though.
Yes, she was.
She was using her little ice plates to just chop limbs off left and right, and I loved it. And it was the one that she uses like ice shield around Saint Germain, and then it was like she's like flying. She's like flying at one point.
Yeah, she's flying, shooting fireballs out of her hands. And then
she's like fighting the one demon, and then she like lifts the shield off, and it like cuts the demon above her like in like 16 different ways. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
This is it. This is it.
It's so cool.
This is it. Yeah, it was really cool. And they are now an item. Trevor and Sypha seem to be having some fun on the side.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. It's cool. It's pretty self-contained. You know, they're pretty much in this little town. Some weird shit starts happening. They start investigating, and boy, does it pop off. But that's kind of their story. You know,
Dracula is in hell.
He's in hell
with
Lisa, presumably. I've seen some people speculate that maybe she's not actually in hell, but his hell has her in it, you know, just to further torture him or something like that, which would be kind of interesting too. Because she didn't really do anything bad, at least as far as we saw, so it would be kind of odd for her to be in hell. And it also kind of makes sense from the perspective of, well, if you're Dracula and you've now been reunited with your love in hell, you're probably pretty content to stay there, right?
That's true.
So I feel like there might be a wrinkle there that we have yet to see that would explain why Drac might want to come back into the picture, as he is wont to do, at least as far as the video games are concerned. He gets resurrected like 300 times.
That's right.
Like every game is just like, Dracula's back. He's just back. Don't worry about it. He's always back.
He just happened to be in hell, though, right?
Well, I think he got killed at the end of season 2 and he went to hell when he died.
Right. Okay. So he's in hell, and the
Priory was like trying to bring him back, I think was kind of what their aim was.
Gotcha.
I think because the night creature was created by Isaac, and so it wanted to bring Dracula back to, I guess, Earth.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
I think that was kind of it. So yeah, and I think it had some sort of mind control effects on the people that came near it, and that's how it was able to get so many people, crazed to just set up this kind of ritual and feed it the power to open up the portal to hell and stuff like that. So
it's fucking cool. Do you hear the things that you just said? That sounds so cool, right?
Yeah, it's some wild shit, man. It's cool.
A demon created by a forge master traveled to a priory with a portal, with a fractured portal to other dimensions. He had to set up a ritual he had to brainwash these good priory people into setting up a ritual so he could collect souls to open the gateways of hell. That's ridiculous.
So it's crazy. just pure insanity is what it is.
Anyway, so that's that.
So anyway, that's pretty much that. So moving on, let's talk about Alucard and his visitors from Japan. Things get a little crazy here too.
I definitely didn't see that coming.
Taka and Sumi are the two who apparently are not siblings, which makes me feel better about this.
Oh, okay.
Even though I definitely thought they were brother sister throughout the entire show.
Yeah, I felt really weird watching what I watched.
Well, so they show up. It's cool because you kind of get a backstory of Cho, who's this vampire that was part of the War Council that kind of didn't do shit in season 2. She was just kind of there. You know, and I liked that. And Alucard is obviously very lonely. He's got a couple puppets of Trevor and Sypha that he likes to interact with, which was very funny, I thought.
And he's only been there for a month.
Yes, but he's obviously kind of losing it a little bit, right? And so he gets kind of these visitors. It's just like, all right, cool, whatever. And I think it's clear after a certain point that these two are up to no good to some extent, because it's just like, so the castle hasn't moved in a while, huh? How come it hasn't done that? How does it work? And when you say that you don't know how it works or it's broken, would you say that it's repairable? And if it's repairable, do you think that it would be able to move again? You know, it's just a lot of like that line of questioning where it's just like, all right, something's afoot here. What's going on here? But I didn't expect it to go the way that it did. Certainly,
no.
I guess I thought it was more of a straight revenge scheme as opposed to a I don't even know how to describe it.
So these people, were they just inclined to kill him just because he was a vampire?
I don't know. I mean, I just watched it literally within the past day, and I'm not quite sure exactly what their angle was.
Like, clearly they wanted to learn the things, and they
it seemed like they were disappointed that like he was holding back. To them, like they wanted to know more about the magic. They wanted to have the castle like functioning again, and that he like wasn't doing what they wanted. So they just said, "All right, we'll fuck you then. We're gonna kill you and take it over
we'll
ourselves.
Fuck you first, and then we'll fuck you."
Well, I assume that was probably a let the guard down kind of thing, and then we'll betray you, for good measure. Not the only time that happens within the same episode, for the record.
And it was the return of the fucking what do they call that? An SO. That sword. What type of sword is that? It starts with an E. Anyways, his magic sword. His magic sword comes back and saves the day.
It doesn't. Yeah, it sure does.
And it was kind of he was sad too, though. Sympathetic because he let them. Once he was bound. You know what I mean? Hey, what are you doing? He's obviously suffering. He's got the silver binding him to the bed and everything else. What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? And then, they just kept digging the hole, and then he fucking had to call the fucking sword in there to slice him up.
Yeah. It was pretty fucked up.
It was a real fucked up deal.
Alucard's very lonely and sad throughout this whole season. I missed his connection to Trevor and Sypha, and clearly he did too as a character, but he's pretty broken up. Obviously, patricide, a big deal. Even if your dad is old Drac himself, it still takes its toll, obviously. So it was sad watching Alucard's story, and I don't know. His is kind of an interesting one. Like, where does it go from here? He's clearly sending a message, shutting out people. By the end of the season, with basically putting the two bodies up as signposts of "Do not disturb," in a disturbing way. So yeah, it's an interesting story. Probably my least favorite of the four overall, just in general, just because I wasn't quite sure what their angle was. I think if I had a little bit more information on what their angle was, then I might have liked it more. But Alucard's still very cool. But I think season 2 was kind of his moment to really shine overall.
He'll get more.
Thoughts?
No, that's.
I think I agree. Well, I'm sure we'll get some more Alucard in the future. Carmilla. In her home of whatever the town is called, I don't recall. Styria, I believe. I just saw it on Wikipedia. It seems right. So Carmilla, and we get introduced to, this is where Hector comes in. Hector is basically a prisoner. He is a prisoner, not basically. He is a prisoner at this point. And she's concocted this scheme to basically take over part of the continent and entrap the humans within to just have an infinite supply of blood, because inevitably people will fuck and have kids, which is not the worst plan, but she's got to consult her quote-unquote sisters to kind of put the plan into action and convince Hector, who has now betrayed Dracula and is in a pretty bad way, to basically create an army for her. So I liked this. I liked this setting a lot. I felt like Carmilla herself didn't get as much play as she did in season 2, and I liked her in season 2 as kind of an evil, crazy character.
Right.
But I thought the introduction of the sisters was really, really cool in this season. Striga and Morana are kind of, more with the military strategists and whatnot, and then Lenore, the self-described diplomat. We get a lot of her and Hector in this season, and I think that's kind of the standout from this particular part of the plot, is their interactions. I think the voice acting in particular for both is really well done for those two characters. But I thought the interactions and the manipulation and kind of the gaslighting from Lenore,
it was super diabolical. It was
very, very diabolical, and
really fucked up.
I don't know. It was fucked up for sure, but it was well done. From a taking a step back and being like, damn. I mean, we knew it was coming, that, the shoe would drop at some point, but to see it in the way that it did, in similar fashion to what happened to Alucard, as we just said, where mid-intercourse, Hector pledges loyalty, and boy, does he pledge some loyalty.
That's it.
I really, really liked this. Like, I kind of liked the scheming that they had going on. I liked the interactions. I liked the setting. And I thought that, the dialogue here was just really well written. Obviously it establishes pretty early on that Lenore is still a legitimate threat, that she's not, because Hector, tries to escape, the first episode, and
she fucks him up
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was cool. She's like, I'm bats right now. I'm like, yeah, vampires, yo.
Yeah, no, it goes.
It was cool. I liked all this.
I like the angle where they, the bad guy in the town is obviously the demons, but then the guy, the mayor of the town's also a monster himself.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the next storyline. Those two people, they had fucked up backstories, and they're twisted. They're and maybe because of their backstory, they did fucked up things. And it was real sad. And then you have the vampires, which are obviously the vampires are monsters too. You know what I mean? So it's surrounded just by shitty shit.
It's a lot of shitty shit in this show.
Yeah.
That's shitty shit show. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Name of the game.
That's it.
But yeah,
I don't know.
It was cool.
Everybody's so dynamic. There's so many different dynamic story plots or storylines, and it's I don't know. It makes it for an interesting watch.
It's interesting to watch. Yeah. This is probably the most political, kind of driven part of the plot here. This is the war council type plot in season 3, I'd say overall. It kind of has that sort of feel translated with different characters and in different perspectives, and probably more of a unified perspective than the war council, where everyone was just kind of whatever, I'll do my own thing. But it's cool. I liked it a lot.
So it's called an S-Talk. Nestoc, ESTOC, I think.
S-Talk, the Alucard sword, is that what we're talking about? The magical sword?
Yeah, it looks like an S-Talk.
Cool. Any other thoughts? Carmilla, Hector. Hector's been through the ringer at this point.
Hector has been through the ringer. Yeah.
To be fair, he did willingly join Dracula's war council in the first place, so he's not exactly a good guy per se.
What was his backstory? Do you remember his backstory? I remember the other one, the other Forge Master. His situation was real fucked up.
I think he...
Sector, the one that tortured the animals?
I think so. I think so. I think he was... Yeah. I think he was the one that tortured the animals.
He's just a fucking weird dude. Weird.
I think he was a weird kid. Grew up to be a weird dude. And
and then the other guy actually, he experienced a lot of bad things, I think, right? From what I remember.
Well, I think he was a slave. I think he was a literal...
Is that what it was?
Slave.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's how they...
Anyways,
his character.
What's going on in his story?
Isaac's traveling the world. I think he sets his sights on Carmilla, basically, because she's the one that betrayed Dracula. And Isaac goes on some adventures of his own. Some wild shit with Isaac. Seriously, there's a couple times where, he just goes, he's like, I'm just trying to pass through town, and then the guards are just like, nope, you're not coming through this town. He's just like, seriously, do you see the fucking army of monsters behind? What are you doing? You have a pike, you fucking idiot. And there's a couple times where it's just senseless slaughter because people are fucking stupid, but people are fucking stupid, so I suppose it's not unrealistic, right? But yeah, Isaac's storyline just goes in directions that I did not expect it to go to. There's some really fun stuff, and there's some cool stuff, when he's interacting with the storekeeper who has the mirror and stuff like that. I thought that was cool. The captain of the ship was fucking cool. The ending of his thing where the fucking mage in the tower, that whole sequence was fucking wild.
Bonkers, the human ball that's just shooting.
The human ball. Apparently that's from the games. I was just wondering about that because I was just like, this is so weird and out there.
Is it a boss fight or something?
Yeah, it's a boss fight from one of the games. I think it's called Legion, I think, and in the game is the boss. So.
Oh, that's cool. See?
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
So I don't know. But Isaac's just just some crazy shit on this on his end.
Yeah, it's bonkers. So the whole show's bonkers though, and that's what makes it cool, I think.
It is. Those last two episodes, like 9 and 10 in particular, is like just even the way they edited 9 particularly, like it cross cuts between everything just going absolutely ham. Like it's the two, sex revenge scenes basically.
Okay, yeah.
Interspersed with, I don't think it's the double whips. I think that's the last episode, but I think crazy things popping off in the town, or at least in the basement. I can't remember the exact order of things.
The Hellfire shooting up in the town and all that.
Yeah, I think that might have been episode 9. I could be wrong, but I just remember insanity. It's just insanity happening. Like every storyline has been mostly calm. Like there's been a building mystery throughout all of them, and then episode 9, everything is just going fucking crazy, just completely crazy. The portal opening up, and then I think it closes with like the zoom, the goes through the hellscape, and then it ends at Dracula with Lisa, and I'm just like, oh. Dracula didn't even come back by the end, I don't think. At least it wasn't made clearly shown to us, so I don't know, man. Some crazy shit going on.
It's nuts. Yeah.
It's a pretty fucking nuts show. I mean, I love it. I think it's great. It's a very yes show, but it's completely wild and completely out there. And the good news is, as of March 27th, Season 4 has been announced.
Nice.
So, got more coming. I don't think there's an episode count just yet, but I would say that 8 is probably a minimal thing. But I would think they'll probably do another 10 if I had to guess. But we'll see.
We'll see.
Probably have to wait a while. Probably have to wait even longer now that the world is in its current state. Alas, we are used to waiting, and we've been spoiled recently with it, so that's quite all right. We've got some things to think about for a year or two, so maybe we'll pick.
And
this
so do the writers and content creators.
Arrives.
They have a lot to think about.
Let's see what other weird shit's going on in Warren Ellis's brain.
I don't know.
We can't wait to find out.
He needs to write some fucking Lovecraftian shit.
He's a prolific comic book writer. I'm sure he's written some novels, if I had to guess, too. I could be wrong, but I really haven't read a whole lot that he's done. But I have to imagine a lot of them are infused with kind of his worldviews, if I had to guess. Just because it's so prevalent in this series in particular, and it's a series you probably wouldn't expect that to come out of. Certainly when it's something that he's created or done something with, I just imagine it's got to come through. I know he's done Marvel stuff, he did the Extremis storyline for Iron Man. I think he's done some X-Men stuff, but I do think he's done other original stuff. And yeah, he's written 3 novels. So
nice.
So yeah, Castlevania, check it out, Netflix. What you been up to lately? Anything fun?
Redoing the cabinets in the house.
I asked anything fun. You did not answer the question.
Gotcha.
That's all right. You can talk about your cabinets experience. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really shitty thing to do. Don't do it. What else have I done that's been fun? I can't think of anything. I was trying to, before we started recording, I was trying to think of stuff that I've watched. I can't think of anything. I don't think I've watched anything, really. I mean, I've Clone Wars. Caught up on Clone Wars.
Cool.
Caught up on Devs, caught up on American Idol, caught up on The Biggest Loser. Biggest Loser's over now, so maybe I'll have stuff to watch.
All right.
Been watching The Biggest Loser. Sarah likes that show. The Voice. I'm going to be down 1 on The Voice. I think something came on tonight, I think. Or the night before. I didn't watch it, because we've been working on the cabinets, so. But I think that's pretty much it. Devs is proving to be an incredible show. I really thoroughly enjoy it.
Are you caught up on that?
Yeah, well, I think there's an episode that came out tonight.
Okay. So more.
It's Thursday. I think it comes out every Thursday.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm pretty far in. Or I think 4 episodes in. But yeah, thoroughly enjoy it. Really like it. It's cool. It's different. It's definitely, I would definitely say it's Alex Garland. So I mean, if you're into his stuff, then you'd probably really like it.
It's on my list, certainly. Yeah. But I don't know when I'll get around to it. But
I really like what's that guy? I don't know the main guy's name. What's that actor's name?
I know Nick
the guy from
Offerman
Parks
is in
and
it. I don't know if
Nick Offerman.
Okay,
That's it.
That is what you're talking about. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I really like Nick Offerman. I can't think offhand besides that Park. I think it's Parks and Rec, right? He's in that.
Parks and Rec. Ron Swanson.
Yeah. Anyways, he's a super actor.
Cool.
Yeah, cool show. What have you been up to?
Not as much as last episode. But I talked about Blade Runner last episode, and I have now rewatched Blade Runner 2049 since.
Still incredible?
It's incredible. Watched it in 4K. Might be the most beautiful movie ever crafted. It's certainly in the conversation, I would have to say. Yeah, it's fucking cool. Watched it with Anna. She liked it more than the original, which I think I do too. Yeah, it's just, it was our number one movie in, I guess, 2017, and for good cause. It's so good. It still holds up. Ryan Gosling is excellent. Ana de Armas is great. Just the world building, the characters. Even Jared Leto didn't bother me as much this last time through. So, yeah, Blade Runner.
I really like
Blade Runner
that movie.
2049
watch that one again.
is fucking cool. I also technically rewatched Contagion. Obviously, it's a hot commodity these days. I think Outbreak as well. I haven't seen that one. I saw Contagion when it came out in theaters, and I think 2011 or 2010. I think 2011. I want to say, and I liked it at the time. Didn't think much of it. I was like, cool Soderbergh flick. And rewatching it now was obviously topical and alarming in some ways, because the first hour of that movie is literally our lives for the past 2 months. It is insane. It's just I know that the movie was very well researched, and they consulted epidemiologists and stuff to be like, well, if this happened this way, what would happen? And so the movie is kind of a case study of that, and it's clear that the predictions were completely fucking accurate, which is why it's mind-blowing that the United States is still in the shape that it was, because there was basically a documentary about what not to do in certain things, and yet here we are. And it's just really wild. There's differences in terms of the virus that's the contagion, and Contagion is a bit it's more aggressive. It spreads more rapidly. The symptom onset is much more rapid. The mortality rate's higher. So it's a bit more,
a little bit more brutal.
Yeah, it's a bit, it's kind of a, well, at least it's not as bad as this kind of thing. But really, for the first hour before shit hits the fan, it's almost 1-to-1. Once shit hits the fan, it's not quite as much, because there's a lot of it feels a little bit more post-apocalyptic type thing, where I don't think we're hopefully quite at that stage. Hopefully we won't get to that stage or anything like that.
How far in this pandemic in this movie, how far does it go? How far does the timeline go?
It goes up to vaccination, so it covers the whole range of it, and I really like the way that it ends. It kind of explains kind of the origins of the virus, and kind of kind of patient zero, and I think it's just cool the way it kind of, the way it's constructed is, they don't really know exactly who it's spreading from or how it's spreading so rapidly, and then it kind of tracks it throughout the movie. They're okay, what do we do? The creation of the vaccine, and then by the end, it's just here's just a little, we'll pull the curtain back and be like, this is the weird set of circumstances that just happened to create this thing that became a virus for humans that, had this crazy mortality rate. So it's, yeah, I think it's really cool. It's unfortunately not super easy to watch. We did a 7-day trial through, I think, Cinemax through Amazon. If you haven't used the free trial, you can watch it that way. I think otherwise, the Blu-ray is fucking sold out everywhere. I guess you could buy it on Amazon, but I don't think it's, it's not super cheap. So if you have the trial, that's kind of the only way you can really watch it. Or if you just have Cinemax outright, then you're good. But yeah, it's a good movie too. I mean, it's just a good movie in general, but it's eerie to watch it now, certainly. Other than that, New Girl season 2, I think we're 11 episodes into season 2. Continues to be good fun. Continue to like it a lot. It's a good comfort food type show. And Animal Crossing New Horizons is dominating my life in terms of the video game sphere, because it's so much fun and I love it. and I can't get enough of it, and I find myself playing way too much of it every day. But I think it's excellent. It is the perfect game for now. Of things are not great, and here is a game that like just puts you into a zen-like state, and it's perfect. And
it's what you needed, right?
I'm on the Good Place. I live on an island called the Good Place, and it's great. I've got a few new neighbors that have moved in, so I'd like to extend a special welcome to Egbert, Kit, and Felicity for joining my island. Egbert's a chicken, Kit is a kangaroo, and Felicity is a cat. They join the likes of Phoebe the ostrich, who I thought was a peacock at first, but apparently is an ostrich with colors of a phoenix, and Sly.
Oh, wow.
Sly, who is an alligator who wears camouflage.
Nice.
And I have oranges as my native tree. I think I described the island previously as Florida.
Yeah.
It is still very true. So yes, kangaroos not so much though. It's a little Australia bleeding into my Florida, but I'm sure there's Australians in Florida inevitably. Yeah, it's fun. And online play is great too. So many people have this game. You don't, unfortunately. That's okay. Although I would encourage you. I don't know if it's the type of game that you'd get into. I really don't. But it's a very kind of casual play kind of game, relaxing kind of game, and it's fun to visit islands. I've been to Henry's Island. I've been to James's Island a couple times. They've it's just fun. It's just fun, man. Like I love it. I find myself thinking about things that I want to do next in Animal Crossing. It's an obsession. It's becoming an obsession.
Without further, maybe we'll just hop off of here and get you off into Animal Crossing, the happy place.
Maybe.
The good place.
The good place. I must go to the good place. Anyway, I think that's it for me. I think that might be it for this episode, if you agree.
I agree.
All right, perfect. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. We are on Patreon. These are hard times for all of us. So obviously many people are maybe unemployed now, or at least not working right now, maybe not making the money that they can. Andrew, for now, is doing what he can on my end. The school is school, so it's kind of proceeding as normal, except online. But we do have a Patreon. It's a kind of way, if you want to help support the podcast, patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. We like to put out bonus episodes on that. We do put out all of our regular episodes up early as well. $2 a month is what we ask for. So in a time like this, we are not going to be pushy about it. However, I'm simply throwing it out there as an option for anyone that interests. In terms of bonus episodes in the future, we haven't quite hammered out what we're going to do. The Witcher was supposed to be a bonus episode, and that got shifted to a regular episode because of the funky circumstances. But I think we have an immense backlog of movies that we could certainly construct something from. If anyone has any suggestions on things that we should cover, whether it's new or old, that's cool. We're all ears. Send those our way. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Hell, anything you want to say, you can send it our way. Questions, comments, suggestions for things to cover. Maybe if 5 people have seen Tiger King and swear by it, maybe we'll fucking take a look. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, now when everyone's kind of stuck at home with streaming, platforms at their disposal, like, we're all in this together. We'll all have a good amount of time. So if there's a way that we can watch something that is going to be appealing to a lot of our listeners, that's certainly something that we're open to. And whether that's a regular episode or a bonus episode, we can have that discussion. So yeah, that's kind of where things are at with that. Our website is watchreviewrepeat.com. You can follow us at WRRpod on Twitter. I've tried to keep tabs on a lot of the movie delays, even though I talked about them in the past couple episodes. I've been trying to keep on top of that just so people that follow our Twitter are aware of kind of where things are going, and the fact that these next few months there's just not a lot of movies that are going to be covered just because
they're not coming out.
They're just not coming out anymore, which sucks, obviously, but we totally get it. It's just, it's really unfortunate. Everything's unfortunate, obviously. We are on Facebook as well. Watch Your Repeat. I must admit I'm not really posting the news there, but you can get in contact with us there certainly if you'd like to. Intro and outro track Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our next episode will be a movie. It will be Pixar's Onward, which will be dropping on Disney Plus in it'll be the 3rd of April, which technically is less than a half hour for us, but I'm not sure if it'll drop Eastern time, midnight. But by the time this is up, Pixar's Onward will be on Disney Plus. Watch it that way. We'll be talking about it next episode, so look forward to that. I have technically seen it. I saw it before it left theaters, but I'm going to watch it again. And I think you guys should check it out. Andrew's going to check it out. That way you can talk about it. And that's where we'll be at. I don't know what we're going to cover beyond that, but again, that's something we're open to suggestions
one step at a time. That's it.
So yeah, look forward to our coverage of Onward. Stay safe, social distancing, keep at it, do your best, do your part, follow any regulations that have been set by your state. And we'll catch you next time. Andrew?
Please take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menge.